Katrina here from Scrappy Horses. Welcome. Today I want to share with you my lapbook journal. Today's video will cover only the foundation or the actual book structure. My next video will have all the fun of adding all the beautiful papers and embellishments. This is a really fun journal made up of 3 back panels and 3 inside pages. The outside panels are stronger and sturdier because they're made with 2 pieces of cereal box, and the inside pages are only made with 1 piece of cereal box combined with Kraft paper. And as you can see, it's sort of all taped together with duct tape. So, with no further ado, let's get started. As I mentioned in the intro, it is a prerequisite that you eat some cereal. At my house, that's no problem because I eat a lot of cereal actually. So the first thing you're going to do is cut down your cereal boxes. I just put them on my paper cutter and just chop them down. And then you want to end up with pieces that you can cut down to 6 by 9. For the cover, you're going to want at least 6 pieces. Now, I like to use a double-sided tape, and I like to use a really strong double-sided tape to keep that on. So here you can see that I'm just simply laying down my double-sided tape, and then I'm going to add fabric tack over the tape and the entire box. I do this because it gives me some wiggle room so I can line it up somewhat straight on one side, and then I have one side straight for when I cut my 6 by 9. I go ahead and I burnish it down a little bit with a roller just to get as much glue squished around under there and get it as flat as possible. Now you can either use some of the strips that you've cut off of the pieces that you've already taped and glued, or you can cut new ones. It doesn't matter. You're going to want these about 1 inch by 9 inches, and these are going to make the spines in your book. Next, we're going to take 1 piece of cereal box and glue those to Kraft paper. 2 pieces you're just going to glue straight on, but 1 piece you're going to want to leave a flap. So we have ended up with 3 pieces 6 by 9, 2 pieces of cereal box each. We've ended up with 2 pieces 5 7/8 by 9 for our pages, with 1 the Kraft paper extending over. And then 2, I only showed you 1, but 2 pieces of 1 by 9, and that's 2 pieces of cereal box there. Now I'm coming in with some distress paint. I just happen to like this one. I think it's a Tim Holtz distress paint just because it's in a dauber bottle and it's easy to use. And all I'm going to do is just go around and distress around all the edges. Now let me preface with this. The book I'm going to be doing is an animal book. So it's going to be kind of grungy and kind of country fun, very animal looking. If you prefer to do something that's a little cleaner looking or a little brighter looking, you certainly can go around with a paint that is brighter. You could go with whites or whatever you like. Once you've gone ahead and you've grunged up or painted up all your sides, we're going to start to put our book together now. And you can see that I've already put the duct tape on one. Now, this is how I like to do it. I have a mat that has measurements on it, and I lay that under a glass picture frame. I do this so that I can just lay my book panels down on there, and I can use that then, the measurement guide at the bottom, to line things up carefully. When you line up your pieces, leave a gap, a small gap between your spines and your covers. This will give your book room to fold over. You can see the little gaps in there underneath that tape. I just use that masking tape to sort of hold it in place then as I tape down with the masking tape. You can see here I'm pulling it up off of that glass plate, and I'm going to flip it over and bring it around to the other side where I'll tape it down, and I'll add more duct tape to cover the inside panels. Then I'll go all the way around again with a second layer of duct tape. Now, I'm not sure that you really need to go that far overboard. I just do because I want to make sure that the book stays put together and that nothing gets torn ever. So I want it to last a long time. So I'm going to be showing you that, and I'll put a little bit of music on while you watch me tape all this up. Once you have all your duct tape in place, then you want to kind of manipulate that tape and start bending and folding so that you get some nice crisp folds where you want them so your book will close. Don't panic if it doesn't. Just come in with a bone folder and just kind of go along those score lines and just keep working it. I never seem to have any issue. Again, the more gap you leave, the easier that's gonna fold for you. While I'm manipulating this a little bit, this might be a great time to tell you that if you've never seen any of my lap books, I do have some videos on YouTube, and I will link those in the description box below so that if you want to see some finished books before I move on to the next video, you can take a look at those and see how I've decorated some in the past. The next book I'm going to be doing is going to be with some really cute Polkadoodles papers and embellishments, and I think you're really going to enjoy it, especially if you are I'll give you a hint, a dog lover. So I'm excited to finish up this lap book and get it out there so you can all see it. What I'm doing here is I'm just sort of scribbling some more color in. Now I will tell you that I'm scribbling over the tape. It really doesn't do any good to do that because it's all going to wipe off anyway. It's really not going to stick to that tape, and you're going to see me wipe it off here later on. But I'm just sort of grunging up these sides again. Now I will tell you too that part of the inspiration for my book is I just got a new German Shepherd puppy, and this little pup is just, he is so darn cute. I am enjoying him so much, and he has sort of inspired this lap book journal, and I have some special plans for this journal, and we'll talk about that in the next video also. So we're coloring along. Again, this is not a must, and you could do this in any color. And, you know, don't get too excited about it, how grungy it looks, because this book is going to have layers in it, and a lot of this is going to get covered up. So I wouldn't get too excited about anything at this point. As long as your structure is strong, That's really all we're looking for in this. We're not looking for too much creativity yet. I just like the grungy look, and I think for my German Shepherd lap book, this browns and tans is going to be great. Now, if you're thinking maybe for your dog book you've got a different breed, and maybe you'd like something in blues or grays, by all means, go for it. Maybe you've got a blue merle, or you've got a beautiful golden. You could go with some yellows or some light colors. So it's all up to you what you want to go with here. So here I am wiping that tape off like I told you I was going to do, because I realized it wasn't going to stay on there. So might as well just take that off. And I'm just using a piece of paper towel, just kind of wiping it down. And next we're going to be moving on to the inside pages. Now remember, the inside pages is cereal box covered with Kraft paper. Again, because my book is for a German Shepherd, I wanted to go ahead and stay with Kraft paper. You could easily move right into your designer paper and back your cereal box parts with your designer paper if you want to take a shortcut in. And that would certainly save some time later on, cutting your designer paper to go on top of these pages. Again, I just love layering, so I decided I was going to just go ahead and go with my Kraft and just layer my paper on top of that. So here I'm going to do basically the same thing that I did before with the cereal box panels. I'm just lining them up along the bottom of my grid down there. So you can see I've lined it up with a line. I'm using some masking tape and taping it down to that glass that I have on top of that mat so that I can line those up. Again, I leave space in between them. You can see the black mat coming through between. So there is space there, and that's going to make those pages fold over. Now I'm not going to use duct tape to put these pieces together. Instead, I'm going to use washi tape, because I really don't need the strength that I needed on the cover. So I'm going with a tan grid washi tape. You'll see it here in just a minute. Again, I'm going to speed things up a little bit, put on some music, and you can watch me tape these pages together. Okay, all of our pages now are taped together. Now we're going to take that spot where we put in that flap. Remember that Kraft paper flap that was hanging over? Or you might have decided to use designer paper there. All I am doing here is I am simply mitering those corners, just clipping the corners, because I'm going to tape this into the book. So you can see here how that's going to create a hinge into the middle portion of the lap book. Now, before you tape anything down, please make sure that these pages are fitting inside your book correctly, because you can always stop now and trim some things down, retape if you need to. But it would be awful to get that glued in and then find out, oh, they were too wide, I didn't measure correctly or something. So be very careful there, very aware. You know the old saying, measure twice, cut once. But if we didn't measure correctly, now's the time to double check that. So just make sure it fits within those two folds. So again, I'm going to bring in my double-sided tape, and I'm going to put tape on that flap. Once I've added the tape to the flap, then I'm going to add some glue over that which will, again, will give me wiggle room in case I don't get it placed in exactly. This double-sided tape grabs fast, so you want to be pretty sure that you have it exactly where you want it. By smearing a little bit of glue over it, or glue stick, which is what I'm going to use in the case of this flap, you're going to find that you've got that wiggle room that you need. So here I am placing it down, again checking those folds one more time to make sure that it's fitting within there. Pressing it down nice and tight. And there you can see the flap glued in. Now, don't worry about how ugly that looks right now, because you're going to be covering that with some designer paper and you're not going to see that flap. Now you can see that those pages move freely in there, and there's plenty of room for some pretty heavy-duty embellishing if you choose to do so. This is a great little book to put in any sort of ephemera that you enjoy. Poetry, song lyrics, pictures, you name it, it can go in the book. Now what I'm doing here is I'm basically just squaring it up and I'm wrapping some string around it. All I'm doing here is just tying a little knot, not a permanent knot, just a little unpermanent knot. I'm sure there's a name for that knot, but I'm not sure what it is. And you would think, being into horse world the way I am, you would think I would know knots, but I really don't. So I just tied it up, and now I'm going to scooch this down the book a little bit. And the reason I'm doing this is just to train my cardboard to lay flat. That's all I'm doing. So I will probably leave this book for overnight now before I do anything with it, because, as you know, I have a new puppy, and I also have horses and other things that need my attention. So I'm just going to sort of wrap some more string and just leave it on there, and it'll be ready when we're ready for decorating. So please join me on May 21st for the next video, where we're really going to have some fun. Trust me, this was not the fun part. The fun part is coming. See you soon. Thanks for joining me today. Bye.